Hi, I'm Paul Perdue, and I am the infrastructure nerd.
And I'm Mary Jo Boyd, a legal technologist. A lot of times when clients are doing their billing, it seems so massive, and they have a hard time just trying to organize their pre-bills and whether finals have been run. Do they update these statements?
And then they've also got to babysit the attorneys and make sure they get all the bills back.
That's true.
Right? It'd be nice if we had some way that we could keep track of all of that.
Well, actually, in Tabs, there is. We can use PreBill Tracking.
Can you show us how that works?
I can. So I'm going to show you an easy way to manage your billing from start to finish. So a lot of times what's happening is we are getting all the time in for each of our attorneys. We're coming in and we're preparing our draft statements or our pre-bills. We're sending those out to the attorneys to have them go ahead and mark them up. We get them back, we make our corrections, and then we need to go in and generate finals for each one of those. And if you're not using our pre-bill tracking list, that can be kind of cumbersome because you have to go into each statement, then you have to go in, you have to say yes, final, or you have to go type in all of those numbers and the multiple to generate those final statements. And you really don't need to do that because Tabs has a built-in tool called PreBill Tracking. And the whole purpose of PreBill Tracking is to give you a list of all of the bills that you've ran as pre-bills, as drafts. And then after it gives you a place after you've done your corrections to come in and check off all those ones that you want to bill or check off the ones that you want to hold. And then you can just click one button to run your final statements. That will go ahead and put a final date in that pre-bill tracking column. And then when you update statements, those statements fall off the list. So they're already processed and they're done. So it's a really good tool to help you go through that process. And now with version 19, with the Reorder Fees feature, that is also available right on PreBill Tracking. So if you have to reorder any fees in different orders after you look at the draft, you can do that right from there as well. So it makes it a little easier on the process. So we're going to talk about this step by step. So our first thing that we're going to do is go in and we're going to generate our pre-bills. So I'm in test data, so this is like from 2014, I don't even know. So I'm just going to run my drafts. I'm going to give it today's date. I'm going to say okay and just preview them. And so at this point, I've got my draft statements and here they are. I've just got a couple, things out here and I'm going to close this. So I've got some draft statements that I have ran and now I'm going to go over to PreBill Tracking. And if you don't know where PreBill Tracking is, you can type it in the search if you're in version 19, or if you go to your Statements tab, it's underneath there as well on the top menu, or if you're still in version 18 or prior on your task folders, you can go to Statements tab and PreBill Tracking will be there. It'll be an icon, okay? So once we're in PreBill Tracking, here's a list of the clients that I have ran pre-bills for. So here's my date that I ran them for. I put in today's date so we could see them easily. And I have 3 clients that I have run statements for. So I can also see what timekeeper these are for. These are all for Ron at the moment. If I had other timekeepers that I had ran, I would see all of them as well. And I'll look at my options. Actually, I've got a filter on, so we're going to take that off. We'll talk about this in just a second. So here's all of my statements, I should say, that I just ran. So I did quite a few for all of these clients. And I can see the timekeepers, 2 for Paula, 1 for Michael. You can order this by timekeeper, so you can see it that way. Or where I just was, where I took that filter off, you can go into options. And as you get those corrected, marked up pre-bills that they want you to change, you can look at these by timekeeper. So maybe timekeeper 5 is the first one to give you their pre-bills back and you just want to work with theirs. You can just sort 5 to 5 and say, okay. And now I'm just looking at timekeeper number 5's bills, and I would just see that list of theirs. So this options filter here is very useful if you get them out of order, or you just want to see, that particular timekeeper. Now in my test system, I don't have a lot of clients that are out there for each timekeeper. So this looks very easy that I could just sort it by timekeeper, and I don't have that many bills. But in real life and in your firm, you are probably going to have a lot more bills than what I have on my screen, especially per timekeeper. So that filter option can be very helpful to you when we're looking at a large group of clients. Now, I've currently had it ordered by client number. You could change this to client name. Again, if we're sorting and we've got our filter set to one attorney, then we can come to a secondary sort either by name or by client ID. I tend to like to match this to however I've generated my statements. So on my Generate Statement tab for my sort, if I'm sorting it by client ID for my secondary order, I would sort my pre-bill tracking by client ID because that's the order of my stack of pre-bills that's what they'll be in. If I ordered it by name, then I would change in here and I would sort this by name because that's the stack, the order my stack would be in. Okay, so you've got some capabilities here to reorganize and resort things how you see fit. So you've got this stack of pre-bills in front of you that you've received back from the attorney with all the corrections. You went out to client manager or wherever you did and you've made those corrections. And now you're ready to just produce these final bills, or you're ready to hold whichever ones they've told you to hold. So let's just work with Michael Jensen for a minute. Okay, so here's all my timekeeper ones. Let's say he gave me my bills back. And this first bill, I've made the corrections and we want to bill it. So I've got two things I can do. I can either double click it and it puts a check mark in the R column, which means I've reviewed it, okay? Or if I want to hold it, if he says don't bill this one yet, I can come down here and click the hold button and it puts two check marks in there. It will go ahead and say that I've reviewed it and I want to hold it. If I have one check mark, let's go down to Marcus Phillips. Let's say he wants to send it. I can click reviewed down here at the bottom as well. Puts one check mark. If I accidentally check that and I didn't mean to, you can double click it to take it off. So it's not like it's on there forever. You can just remove it. If I just wanted to hold it right away, I can hold it. It'll automatically put the two check marks in. Double click takes it off. I can hit my control key and I can pick and choose which ones. So maybe all of these ones that I have are going to be reviewed. And then all of these ones that I have are going to be hold. So I'm just using my control key on this instance. And I can hold them. I can just mark them all at once. Okay. If I go all the way down, you can also hit your shift key. So if I take this one and I hit my shift key and I double click, well, I can't remove it. I'm going to just double click and get them off of there. But if I did my, if I clicked on my hold or my reviewed with the shift key, let me clear this out. Okay. So I'm going to hit my shift key. And let's say this group of them I know are all going to be sent. So I just hit shift, I highlighted my first one, hit shift, highlighted the last one I want in that group, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on review. Those are ready to go. So lots of ways you can kind of combine this. You don't have to individually click, but you can. You can go through that stack and just flip them over in front of you. Yep, that one's corrected and ready to bill. I'm going to just double click it to put reviewed. This one is hold, so I'm going to come down here and hold it, and so on, and mark up these things. Anything that has one check mark in it, when I click on final statements here at the bottom of my screen, is going to create a final statement for those clients that I have here, those matters, okay? Anything that has two check marks, it will skip. And anything that is blank, it will skip. Now, my rule of thumb is I don't like to have anything be blank when I go to hit my final statements. I want that to be everything filled in. Now, obviously, if you're looking at other timekeepers, you're going to have those be blank. That's fine. You haven't dealt with those yet. But if you're doing a filter and you have just timekeeper 1 in, that's all I'm going to be looking at on my screen. So I don't really want any blanks. I'm dealing with his stack of bills. If anything is missing, I don't have that pre-bill, I can go try to track it down and find it because I know I ran a draft for it. Where's the pre-bill? You can go find that. You also can print this report at any time. So a lot of times what I will do is after I've run my drafts and before I get them back, I will print this report and put a copy of that right on top of the pre-bills that I'm giving the attorney. I may even print a second copy and keep it for myself. That way I know exactly what was given to each attorney and exactly what I'm expecting to get back to do my billing. And whether or not I'm going to bill it or not, I still want that returned to me so that I know, oh, they didn't want to bill that, I'm going to hold it, and then we're just not going to do anything with that this month. So it's important to kind of make sure you get that list back. So you can print this report at any time throughout the process. Maybe after you've done all of your checks, so let's say I'm just going to bill all of these, I'm just going to go ahead and mark them as reviewed. And when I click on my final statements button down here, so these are all checked as reviewed, I'm going to, just so I can show you what will happen with the holds, mark a couple of these as hold as well, just because. All right, now let's go ahead and click final statements. And I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, this is test data, so I've got all kinds of things popping up there. It takes me right back into my generate statements screen. But you'll notice that I have no client tab here because I've already selected my clients on the PreBill Tracking tab. So there's no need to select them again. I've already selected the ones I want to bill. So now I will just go through and I would select the same parameters that I had for my billing. If I were cutting off the time as of 12/31 or 1/31 or whatever my date cutoff is for my fees, costs, and payments, I would put that in. Now, because I'm in test data, I just left mine blank, but you would cut yours off at this point. And then on the options tab, you'll notice it's already changed to final. And I can put the statement date that I want to run these bills. So I'm just going to put it as today's date again. Okay. We'll go ahead and say okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And we'll preview these real quick. So I'm running finals for just those ones that I selected. And again, I'm running into things because I have PreBill or test data. So I've got all my final bills run. All right. You would print those off, get those ready to mail to the client. And if I look at PreBill tracking at this point, you'll see that all of the ones that I put a check mark to final bill now has a date in the final column. But it skipped the ones that I had for the holds. There are no dates in there because no final bills were run for those. Now my last option here, my last step to do is to go ahead and update those statements. So I'm going to come over here to my list and update those statements. You again could go out to your statement tab, update statements. I'm going to update them for just attorney number 1 because I'm done with attorney number 1 right now. Go ahead and say okay. It's going to go out and update those statements for me. Say okay. And now when I look at PreBill tracking, and let me refresh this, I only have the holds left. Everything that I have run a final bill for and updated is off my list. I don't have to look at it anymore. It's done. Those bills are out the door and ready to go. These holds, I'm not billing this month. So at the end of my billing cycle, what I would do with these is I would just delete them off of my PreBill tracking list. Now, one other rule of thumb that I do is before I start my billing cycle, I always come in to PreBill tracking and I make sure that I have no filters on and I delete everything on the list. All that is doing is deleting any record that I ran a draft statement. It's not deleting any data in the system. It's just deleting that. You may come in here and if you've never used PreBill tracking before, you might see a list on here that has draft statements that were run in like 1999 forward. I've seen some that have been so old, and every time a draft statement was run, it just added it to the list and added it to the list and so on. And nobody's ever managed it or cleaned it up. So my first suggestion would be to come in here and delete everything on the list and start fresh. And every time you run draft statements for this batch of billing, it will load that batch of billing into the system here in PreBill tracking. You work that list. At the end, the only thing left would be the holds. You delete them and you have a clean list again. Then throughout the month, if anybody happened to run a draft here or there and it loaded one in, at the beginning of your next billing cycle, again, first thing, come in, make sure you clean it out, delete everything on the list, start fresh for this billing cycle that you want to do, and you can run those drafts and have them all set up on that same batch. So that's how you can use that part of the program. Now, what I'm also going to show you very quickly is that reorder fees is also in here. So I don't know, I am in test data, so I don't know what I'm going to find here, but let's see if we have anything that we can reorder here. So for reordering of fees, and of course there's nothing on that one, and let's try this one. You need to have some data that's on the same line and same date. So if I had fees on the same date right here from PreBill tracking, I can enter into reorder fees and I can drag and drop. So I don't have any on this one, but you get the idea. And reorder fees is another topic we've covered in another video, but you can access it from PreBill tracking. So if you know, oh, I have to reorder some of these things when you're correcting things, you can do it right there on the fly in PreBill tracking and just drag and drop. Go back to your PreBill tracking screen when you're ready and check it off that it's ready to bill then. So you can make all of your other corrections if you want to, and then when it comes time to reorder, you can just make sure that when you get to that one, you're going to just go reorder them right here. So just another option that you can do from the PreBill tracking screen. So that is PreBill tracking. This is how you can manage where you are in the billing cycle. You can see from start to finish that you've run pre-bills on here, but no finals have been run. You would be able to see if anybody was still out here as holds that you forgot to delete. You'd be able to see if there were finals out here. And if you could still see a bill out here that has a pre-bill date and a final date, that's a red flag that if you still see that on PreBill tracking, you have not updated statements yet. Now you can also use the pre-update statement report for that, but this is a good place that you would know right away if you come in here and there's all these final dates. Oh, wait, I forgot I need to update statements. So it's one of those tools, again, that you can see every part of your billing from the time you run the pre-bills all the way to the time you've updated and finished and know exactly where you are on the billing cycle. So there you have it, an easy way to keep track of your billing from start to finish.
And that's just one more way that we can help you to worry less
And practice more.